That's why I want to sit in the front.
Everybody, the doors are now open. If you could please make your way to your seats. Everybody, the doors are now open. Please make your way to your seats.
Okay, guys, you got to give it up one more time for the Akwaba Cultural Experience. Now, they're called the Akwaba Cultural Exchange. They were fantastic, and what I've learned tonight is that Akwaba means welcome. So that was just brilliant to welcome everyone in here tonight. Very appropriate to welcome you to this event tonight. My name is Tammie Sutherland. I'm a reporter for City News. Woo! Yeah! Fans over there. I don't know what's going on. Thanks, guys. I'm a reporter for City News. I am delighted to be the co-host tonight for this very special event. My co-host, Dwight Drummond, is on his way from CBC. He is working until, yeah, give it up for him. He's a hardworking man. He's working until 7 o'clock on air, anchoring CBC local news, as you guys know. So right after that, he's probably looking for parking right now. So he will be here in just a second, but we're both honored to be here tonight for this incredible event. Of course, the Black Canadian Trailblazers, then and now. It's great that we're recognizing people from then and now, looking at the Trailblazers who are making a difference right now, even the younger generation coming up. So it's a great event to have, especially to celebrate Canada's 150th anniversary. It's perfect to put it together. And we have an incredible lineup, as you guys know, for tonight. The speakers are incredible, from everything to do with media to sports. It's an awesome lineup that we have tonight. And thank you for coming, because when I got here tonight, I heard from everyone that celebrating Black women in Canadian history, of course, that was last year's event. It's the first time Historica Canada put on that event. And so this is only the second in a day without any promotion at all. You guys sold it out. So everyone here, thank you for your support, and thank you to Historica Canada for making this such a success. And so now I want to be able to bring in the president and CEO of Historica Canada to come up and say a few words as well, and to welcome you all here tonight. Please welcome, big round of applause for Anthony Wilson-Smith.
Well, thank you all, of course, first for being here tonight. We can all agree on a couple of things. The first is that there are a lot of terrific reasons to be here for this event, and the second is that none of them involve me speaking for long, so we can be relaxed about that. Before anything, I want to acknowledge this land on which Corner Hall, the Royal Conservatory, sits, is known as Tekaranto, in honor of the stewardship, past, present, and future of the Huron-Wendat, the Iroquois Haudenosaunee, the Anishinaabe, and most recently the Mississaugas of the New Credit. The territory was, yes. Yeah. The territory was the subject of the Dish with One Spoon Wampum Belt Covenant, an agreement between the Iroquois Confederacy and Confederacy of the Ojibwa and Alliance Nations to peaceably share and care for the resources around the Great Lakes. I also am particularly delighted in welcoming a friend of this community and every other across Ontario, the Honourable Elizabeth Dowdeswell, the Lieutenant Governor of Ontario. And finally, told you I'd be brief, I want to welcome an organizational friend of here and a person as well. We want to thank TD Bank for their continual support of our programs related to this over the years, and to welcome Peter Robson, the Associate Vice President for Risk Management for the bank. Peter. And I am done.
It is a pleasure to be here tonight at the beautiful Kerner Hall, representing TD Bank and our 84,000 employees around the world. I'd first like to congratulate our longtime partners at Historica Canada for their tireless efforts in work in preserving and promoting Black history in Canada. Many people, yes. Many people are unaware that TD partnered with Historica back in 2011 to develop a Black History in Canada Teacher's Guide to commemorate the award-winning novel by Lawrence Hill, The Book of Negroes. We partnered again with Historica in 2015 when the Book of Negroes was turned into a movie, a CBC TV miniseries, and it reflects our outstanding, long-standing partnership has served to reinforce our commitment to communities across Canada. At TD, we're proud to support organizations because we understand the passion, the energy, and inspiration that drives community organizations to succeed in an increasingly competitive economic environment. For us, it's not just about business, it's about community building. By contributing to the social and economic development of diverse communities in a meaningful and long-lasting and innovative way. That's why, while some corporations are tightening their budgets and sponsorship budgets due to economic turbulence, TD has moved in the opposite direction, donating over $92 million to community initiatives in the past year. To us, that's being part of the Better Bank. So ladies and gentlemen, let's enjoy this wonderful celebration of the Black Canadian Trailblazers here tonight with Historica Canada, and be sure and check out the rest of the events in the TD Black History Month series. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, TD, for all you do for community events here in Toronto and beyond, for sure. And now it is my honor to welcome tonight's first speaker, very special speaker, Ms. Wanda Robson, who flew in all the way from Sydney, Nova Scotia to be here tonight for this event. Now, I don't know if you got a chance to meet her when we were outside there at the reception, but she is full of life and spirit, which I absolutely love. She's a beloved storyteller, of course, and the sister to Viola Desmond, civil rights icon, pioneer of African Nova Scotian businesswoman as well. And in 2016, Historica Canada released a Heritage Minute on Viola Desmond's story. This minute was the first ever Heritage Minute to reach 1 million views. And of course, as you all know, on December 8th, it was a huge day for Canadian history and Black Canadian history especially. Viola Desmond was announced to be the first woman on the $10 bill. Here now is a short clip on Wanda Robson and her sister, Viola Desmond.
I can't sell downstairs tickets to you people.
They said I didn't pay the theater tax. But it was really about color.
I'm Wanda Robson, sister of Viola Desmond. And I feel good.
Robson enrolled in Cape Breton University in 2000, and that same year began sharing her sister's story at schools and in community groups. She graduated with a Bachelor of Arts degree in 2004. In 2008, Robson set out to raise further public awareness of the circumstances of her sister's arrest. Due in large part to her efforts, the Nova Scotia government pardoned Viola Desmond in 2010.
I want to say, ladies and gentlemen, that it's a great pleasure for me today to announce officially the woman who will be on our new Canadian $10 bill, Viola Desmond.
It's a big day to have a woman on a banknote. And it's a really big day to have my big sister on the note. I'm so proud I'm almost to tears, really.
And we are also proud as well. Ladies and gentlemen, please, another big round of applause for Ms. Wanda Robson.
This is wonderful. Oh, thank you. Thank you. This has been a ride. Since I started, you know that I went to university when I was 73. And graduated when I was 77. Now, I don't want you young people to wait that long. I know that times are tough, money is scarce, but brains are still there. And, you know, my mother always said, where are you going to be? What are you going to be? What are you going to do if you don't have education? That's the bottom line of your life, education. Now, by education, my mother meant, well, university, academic training, college, trade, business. That is what, if you want to be anything you want to be, you can be. You say, oh, well, it takes a great deal of money to go. It does. More than when, of course, I didn't have to pay anything. Mine was free. But I told you, don't wait till you're 65 and it's free. But I'm just kidding now, because I always wanted to go to college. Always wanted to go to university, always wanted to. And I did go, finally. But I'm speaking to the young people tonight and their parents. Don't give up. Don't give up. You don't say, oh, I hate school. I hate this. I hate that. Don't hate anything. That's not right. No matter what you want to do, suppose you wanted to, they say, well, I don't want to be anything much, just a barber or drive a cab, or whatever. Whatever you want to do, but do not think that you can just say, well, I'll go in and get a job. Get trained for that position that you want. Get trained, get your diploma, your certificate, whatever it takes, so when somebody else comes in for your job, you are there and you have the evidence that you've gone, you've been instructed, and you're the best you can be, no matter what it is. This is what Viola did. Viola said she was, as you perhaps know, she was a teacher. And she had graduated from high school, and this was during Depression time, when it's very difficult, the 20s and the 30s. It's difficult any time, but this time it was doubly so. She graduated from grade 12. She wanted to be a teacher, and she couldn't go to teacher's college because she was Black. Does that make sense? No. So, but they did have, this was in Nova Scotia, but they did have a training, the school board said, well, if you want to teach, we'll give you a test. And if you pass the test, then you can teach. Not in the white schools. You'd have to teach in the Black schools, which were on the outskirts of Halifax. Of course, she took the test, and of course, she passed, and she was teaching. And along the way, while she was teaching, she read this story about this magnificent Black woman, Madam C.J. Walker. You've heard of her, and if you don't know of her, you can find her on the computer, whatever. You know what? I don't know what I'm saying when I say computer. I'm computer illiterate. I'm sorry. My husband does all that work. But you know what you parents and children, they know what I'm talking about. But Viola read this about this woman who was Black from the South in the States. She was an entrepreneur, and she sold her own, manufactured and made her own beauty products for Black women, an unheard of thing. And she was a millionaire. This is in the early 1900s. And then she had a sort of like a Tim Hortons, they're everywhere. I mean, she had a franchise everywhere. And she was making money. She was a millionaire. So Viola said, that's what I want to do, so that's what she did. And you know the story. She had her own business, and every time she wanted to do something or go a little further, she didn't just start it. She went to where the learning was of whatever she wanted to do or be, and got a certificate, a diploma. And this tells you something about that woman, and it should tell you something too. You want to do something, if somebody else might want to do it too, but you want to do it, and you want to do it better. You know that, and you can do it better. And Viola came back, opened her studio, and then there she was. And she started a school to try to teach other girls who were not, there wasn't anything in Halifax, anything in Nova Scotia for blacks. No place. I mean, I went to a shop and I was told, we don't do you people. I was young. I was kind of cute, you know. Why are you laughing? I was cute. I went to this beauty parlor and they said, we don't do you people. Well, I was very young, like in my early 20s. And even to this day, it's humiliating to be told that we don't want you here. It makes you feel less than human. And that may be a bit of an exaggeration, but, you have to have this self-esteem about yourself. And when someone puts it down, it stays with you for a while. But as I was saying to Viola, one day one of her customers came in and said, Miss Desmond, I'm going to a dance and my hair is all broken off. I wish I had a wig. That said, Viola said, to herself, well, she didn't write to the United States and say, I want an order of wigs. She went to the States, took a course in making wigs, and came back and made her own. And it's the same way as in cosmetology. A woman came to her one day and said, I go to all these stores, and they have makeup. They have a powder, and it is for blondes and brunettes, but there's nothing for the darker skin. Now, Viola didn't go say, well, I think I'll order some from the States, and then I'll recharge all my customers. No. She took a course in cosmetology, came back to Halifax, and started making her own products, which she named Sepia. If you'll know, S-E-P-I-A, which means brown tone. Any artists or anybody would know what I'm talking about. But that was her trademark. And she bought boxes, and she had labels, her picture put on the label. And I used to weigh, firstly, she bought bags of powders from the States. And she would take and mix them till she got the right shades that she wanted. And she named them. And so it was her product. This was her way of building up her business, her own franchise, or whatever you want to call it. I had my job, I was in high school, I just finished high school, working. My job was to weigh out the powder into these boxes. She checked the scales all the time to make sure that her customers were getting exactly what it said on the box. She mixed the colors so she would have this tone, this tone for a darker person, this tone. And then she would have me weigh it. I got 50 cents a weekend for that. You know, 50 cents a weekend. But that was, it sounded like, at times I thought she was being so fussy. I was a sister. I thought, get off my back. That's all right. That'll do. No. She taught my mother how to make wigs. It was fantastic the way. Do you know what I'm saying? Fantastic now, because I know what she was doing. But then I knew what I didn't know. I was a teenager. What did I know? All I knew was that the weekend was coming and I may be going to a dance and what dress could I wear and, well, don't you think of that? Sometimes. It sounds like, brainless, but I'm not calling teenagers brainless. It just goes with you growing up. But, and I was also asked, after the incident, the next day I went into work and they said, was that your sister? Was that your sister? And I said, yes. Yes, your sister. And I said, "Argh." But you know what I thought? I thought, oh my good Lord, it says jail. She went to jail. What? And I always thought, you did something wrong when you went to jail. That's what I thought. What did she do? I didn't think of what had been done to her. I thought about it and dismissed it. I'm embarrassed to say that I dismissed it. But eventually, I got it. I got what she had done. And I'm so proud of that woman. I'm so proud. And yes. Did you see that? You're all a witness. You're all a witness to it. It's called, you know what it's called? Senior abuse. I thank you.
How much do you love her? You know what she just said? She said, I could have said more, like as she was walking by. Oh, and look who decided to show, no, don't hide, come on. Look who decided to show up now. Give him a big round of applause.
Hello. I'm so glad I got to catch the end of Wanda, though. That was so wonderful. I hosted when they announced that her sister was going to be on the $10 bill, and we ran her on News Network all day, over and over and over, and you see why tonight.
Right. Now, before we introduce our next speaker, I just want to bring greetings straight from the Prime Minister. So this is a letter specifically welcoming and bringing his greetings here tonight for this event. So Justin Trudeau saying that he wanted to extend his warmest greetings to tonight's Black Canadian Trailblazer Then and Now event organized by Historica Canada. The entire letter, of course, will be posted on their website as well as on social media. So that's kind of nice. You know it's a big event when the Prime Minister is sending his greetings personally, so that's great.
Wonderful to be here. You guys know I was late because I was hosting the news, right? You do? Yeah, okay. And this is my first opportunity to work with Tammie. She was a little writer in our newsroom back in the day, and I'm so proud of her. She's made great strides in her career, and nice things happen to nice people sometimes. So, our next speaker, I know this gentleman well because he was the head of CBC Sports for a time. Jeffrey L. Orridge is the 13th Commissioner of the Canadian Football League, a leading executive with a lifelong passion for sport. He has spent his career building major brands and businesses in both Canada and the U.S. with leading roles in organizations including the CBC, Right to Play, Mattel Inc., Reebok International, and of course, USA Basketball. He is positioning the CFL for the future with an innovative and progressive approach designed to engage avid fans and attract the next generation of fans. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Jeffrey L. Orridge.
Good evening, everyone. I've been in media for a little while, and I was always faced with the unenviable task of coming after either a well-known anchor or a great sports reporter, but somebody who was really eloquent and someone who was an incredible orator. So of course, I get positioned behind Miss Desmond. I'm behind the 8 ball, but I really want to say it's a real honor to be here this evening and to be part of this remarkable event. I have to admit, though, that when I heard Historica was calling, I had this crazy thought that I might actually be featured in a Heritage Minute. But it was actually even crazier because my thoughts went to, well, I wonder what really handsome and really tall actor would portray me. And then my wife was really quick to point out, she said, not only is Denzel Washington not Canadian, he only stars in feature-length movies, and Heritage Minutes, like her husband, is kind of short. Okay, jokes aside, I really do want to thank Mr. Smith, the board, and the staff at Historica for including me in such an accomplished group of trailblazers. It's not only very humbling, but certainly inspiring. I'd like to applaud the work of Historica, what they do on behalf of all Canadians to enhance awareness of Canadian history and the contributions of its citizenship. It's a mission that particularly resonates with me because I work for an organization now, the CFL, that takes pride in its Canadian history, and because one of my proudest moments in my life came just a few years ago when I became a Canadian citizen after relocating from the US. Yes, I am an immigrant, a Canadian by choice. So it kind of makes my story a little bit different. Tonight I was asked to talk about my path to becoming the CFL's 13th commissioner and its first Black commissioner, and to also talk about a previous Canadian trailblazer who inspired me. Well, in my case, I was inspired not only by a person, but also by a moment, an institution, and an idea. The person was Warren Moon, the moment was with my father, the institution was the Canadian Football League, and the idea was fair opportunity. I grew up in Queens, New York, and watching sports on TV was something my dad and I shared whenever possible. In 1992, the NFL was in the middle of a work stoppage. One of the big US networks decided to fill the void for football fans by airing some CFL games. So Edmonton was a powerhouse of that era, and they happened to be playing. And my dad looked at the screen and he pointed to the team's quarterback, Warren Moon. Moon had everything that you could ever want in a quarterback. Strength, athleticism, fearlessness. He could run, he could pass, he could lead. But when he came out of college, the NFL had no interest in him as a quarterback. At that time, there were virtually no Black quarterbacks in American professional football. You could play running back or defensive back, but not quarterback. So there on the TV screen was Moon and my dad telling me that in the CFL, in Canada, if you were qualified, you could play any position, even quarterback. If you were good enough, you could become just about anything. You were at least, for the most part, given a fair opportunity to compete for a job. Now, neither my father nor I ever thought that the CFL or Canada was utopian, but the idea that Canada was a meritocracy as well as a democracy, that kind of stuck with me. That there was a place that provided people the opportunity to explore their potential. That made an impression. That it doesn't matter where you come from, because that does not determine where you can go. Well, that made an impression too. So this is my dad's conception of Canada, and it was represented by the CFL. So when the growth spurt that my parents promised me never really happened, I was fortunate enough to become accepted and graduate from Harvard Law School. So after a relatively successful career in American law, business, and sport, and thank you, Dwight, you read it just like I wrote it. Thank you. I was really excited to be offered the opportunity to work in Canada because it was a place that I felt very comfortable with because of that background. And I came to work here for Right to Play, which is a global humanitarian organization that's focused on the development of children in some of the most desperate and underprivileged communities in the world. And they affect that through sport and play. So anyway, the idea was I wanted to give back by simply moving the organization forward. Then I had the opportunity, as Dwight mentioned, to lead the sports department at CBC a few years later and help bring the Olympic Games and the Pan Am Games to another iconic Canadian institution. And then after that, I was thrilled to become the commissioner of the CFL, the very place that had given Warren Moon his opportunity back in the 70s, an opportunity, by the way, that he parlayed into 5 straight Grey Cup championships, a CFL career that eventually led to a Hall of Fame career in both the CFL and the NFL, as change slowly took root in the South. Over the years, I learned that Warren Moon, who's now a friend of mine, was not the first black quarterback to find an opportunity in Canada. In 1951, a courageous and talented young man named Bernie Custis became the first black professional quarterback in the modern era, playing for the Hamilton Tiger Cats. That was 1951. One of the first things I did as commissioner was to honor Mr. Custis with an award in recognition of his immeasurable contributions, not just to the CFL, but to the impact that he had on Canadian society. Now, as you know, as great as it is, Canada is not perfect, and the CFL hasn't been perfect either. So, like I said, in 1951, Mr. Custis was an all-star quarterback, but that next year, they moved him to running back. So, as many of you know, from experience, progress is seldom linear, and its path can often be filled with obstacles and hurdles and detours and setbacks. But in comparison to others, this has been a league and a country that has offered opportunity for many, many years. And if there was no Moon and no Custis, there would definitely be no Orridge in the commissioner's office today. So I may have reached a different destination, but I most certainly followed the trail that they blazed. It's one thing to say it can be done. It's quite another thing to see it being done. So I just want to conclude by expressing my gratitude to them and all of you for the trails you have blazed, because each trail connects to others, and that helps clear the trails for them all. As blessed as I consider myself to be today, my hope is for the future, because there's no point in blazing a trail for others if no one follows behind you. For me, the importance of being the first black commissioner will be much more significant when there's a second. A young man or woman of color today, despite the progress we recognize tonight and during Black History Month, still faces obstacles that others do not. And if we're to honor those who have blazed trails for us and to recognize those who we see as today's trailblazers, we each must do all we can to ensure that Canada, now more than ever, truly represents the idea that captured a young man and his dad so many years ago. So thank you very much for listening to me. Thank you very much for the honor of inviting me here. And I couldn't be not only more proud, but more inspired to be among you tonight. So thank you again.
Keep going for Jeffrey Orridge. I love that line. What's the point of blazing a trail if no one follows you? It's so true. So thank you very much for that. And I just want to say shout out, because Dwight said it for me, for two trailblazers, for me at least, Dwight and Jojo Chinto is also going to be speaking later on today. I thank you both. Now I'm going to introduce the next speaker tonight, Dwayne Morgan. He began his career as a spoken word artist in 1993, and I'm sure many of you in this room have heard him speak before. In 1994, he founded Up From the Roots Entertainment to promote the positive artistic contributions of African Canadian and urban influence artists. Now, Dwayne is a 2016 finalist for the Premier's Award for Excellence in the Arts as well. In 2014, he was the recipient of the Renaissance Planet Africa Award for Career Achievement, and he has been acknowledged by the Ontario Black History Society as a community trailblazer, and he is one of our trailblazers tonight. Please welcome Dwayne Morgan.
All right, good evening. Thank you to Historica Canada for inviting me to be a part of this celebration, and thank you to so many of you who have come out to support this event tonight. 23 years ago, as a shy young person who got on stage extremely nervous for the very first time, I had absolutely no clue that I was blazing anything. I had no desire or inclination to be a trailblazer of any sort. I was just trying to speak and hoping that somebody would listen. And many of the things that have happened that have been pivotal moments in my career over that time have been things that have happened out of necessity. They have been things that have happened as acts of survival in an extremely harsh environment, because for young people like myself and the generation at the time, first generation Canadians who were speaking out about the things that were happening, the mainstream literary world wasn't really having it. They weren't really that receptive to our voices and our stories. So it was extremely difficult, because here I was wanting to be a poet, wanting to be accepted into all of these poetry things, and then they said, no, you're not really a poet, you're spoken word. So they just created a little category and put us over, in the side. It was like, we are the poets, you are the other. And I had already spent my life being the other, so I didn't think I was going to have to be the other again. So I suppose the actions that have had me recognized as a trailblazer have come out of this environment. So as a result, when people kept on asking me, how they could buy some of my poetry, I said, well, naturally, I need to create a book. And I tried to get published by every possible person who publishes poetry in Canada, and I got rejection letter after rejection letter. But long before self-publishing became the industry that it is today, I decided to self-publish my own books. I'd have my car trunk full of books and would drive around the city, and anywhere people would stop and listen, I would be selling books, right? And it was just like they did with hip-hop in the South. Then people decided that they wanted to listen to the poetry, and now I had another issue, because none of the record companies knew what spoken word was, so they had no clue what they were going to do with me. So no one was going to put out a spoken word album. So what I had to do was I had to convince people who supported me to pay me $10 in advance on the promise that an album would be coming. Long before crowdfunding existed, I was crowdfunding. Then I would start to have opportunities to travel across this country, and I would end up in these venues, and if you wanted to buy a book, you would buy a book at a bookstore. So here was this young guy, he has these books and CDs, and nobody had any money. So they're just like, oh, I would love to support you, but we don't have any money. So I became one of the first artists that I know of traveling this country with his own debit machine. Many of you have probably run into me on the street with my TD Bank debit machine from like 10 years ago. And it allowed me to crisscross the country selling books and CDs without any kind of retail support directly to the customer, and it completely changed the game. And then I saw Patricia here earlier from the Afro Global Television Network all of the stuff that I've been doing, then I get approached, hey, would you like to be able to put poetry on TV? So last year we filmed 17 episodes of my TV show, Poetically Speaking, that airs on the Afro Global Television Network. Now, thank you. Now we're in the society where bookstores are closing. It's harder and harder to get people out to listen to poetry. So now I had another epiphany, and I created the Dwayne Morgan mobile app. So now right on your phone, you can listen to poetry, you can read poetry, you can buy poetry. And the reason why I had to be so enterprising is because there was an elder in the community, and every time I would get around her, she would always pull me to the side and whisper an off-the-record nugget of wisdom in my ear. And that woman is Lillian Allen. And I want to take this opportunity to recognize the efforts of Jamaican-born, Juno Award-winning, dub poet Lillian Allen, who had no business caring about a young guy that she knew like nobody. But she saw something in me, and to this day, every time she sees me, there's always something that she whispers into my ear that always resonates, and it takes root in my spirit and has blossomed into many of the things that I currently do today. So for every adult who is here in this room, understand the power of your words. And if you see a young person who has a light, it is up to you, if you have it in you, to spark that light and to encourage them, because the same things that have happened to me can happen to anybody, because I am not more special than anybody in this room. I've just had people who cared enough to step outside of themselves and invest in me in times when very few people did. So thank you, Lillian Allen. Thank you, Historica Canada. Thank you all very much.
And thank you, Dwayne Morgan. Now, I don't know if I got the guy on TV prices, but I remember paying $20 for those books, man. I got a few of your books in my library at home, and I don't remember that $10 price, but we'll see. This is a real special introduction for me. I was lucky enough to get an honor, was it last week and the weekend before, from the Ontario Black History Society, and yes, thank you very much. And when they asked me, was there anybody that helped you on your way? Was there anybody you think inspired you, mentors? The first name I mentioned was this one. Born in Ghana, West Africa on April 10th. Man, they're giving your age here, Jojo, 1944. Woo! Jojo came to Canada in 1969. In the summer of '72, he started working at the Toronto Star. He managed and edited Black community newspapers, Contrast and Islander in the early '70s. He was a reporter and documentary specialist with City TV for almost 30 years. To this day, when people ask me about the old City TVs, this is one of the people they ask me about all the time. Now he is a freelance writer, documentary filmmaker, and motivational speaker. A very special person in broadcasting in this country for many, many years. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Mr. Jojo Chinto. Foundation, sir. I'm gonna take a hug now.
Thank you. Wow. Back in the limelight again. When Historica Canada called me and says, we want you to talk about a trailblazer, somebody you admire. Can you send us a name? And I wrote back to Muna and says, Felix Frazier. I'm not sure how many of you know Felix Frazier. Phil Frazier. Before I became Jojo Chinto of City TV, there was Phil Frazier. Phil Fraser is a Canadian broadcaster, journalist, author, film producer, and educator. He's a Black Canadian born in Montreal in 1932, some 12 years before I was born in Ghana. Now, these were his words when I had the opportunity to talk to him about 8 years ago when I was doing a documentary on Black in Canada, the Obama effect. He says, quote, "A lot of the racism in this country is underground. It's in the closet. He said, yet Phil managed to break through many barriers and blaze a trail in radio, television, and film during a period in our recent history when a Black voice on radio or face on television and film was a big deal." A lot of people look at television these days and they see a lot of diversity. But when I got into television, there was hardly anybody you could see that looked like you. Like Dwayne said, you never think about blazing a trail. You're just trying to get a job and practice your craft. And then when you go around the community and people walk up to you and says, "Thank you." When someone walks up to you and says, "Every evening I watch television with my children because I want them to see you," and all of a sudden it hits you that you're not there for yourself. You're representing a community, a people. People get to see a Black person like they've never seen before. A television reporter, maybe a thinker or writer, because that's not the impression people have, images people have of us. As African people, we always presented, our negative sides are always presented. Nobody ever sees the elegant African that stands tall, well-educated. Dwight will tell you in the newsroom, not too many people messed with me. Because you couldn't. When you looked at my face and looked at me, you knew I wasn't a Negro you could push around. You just knew it. And the younger people like Dwight and Oliver and Fenella who are coming along, if you dared mess with them, I'll just call you on it. When Oliver one time called me and says, "You're the Godfather." Because I knew what they were going through, because I've been through it. The little games they play, trying to make you look incompetent so they can get rid of you. If you're right on the desk, all of a sudden they send your stuff back. And yet you're better educated than anybody on the writing desk, and you're writing better than anybody else. I remember going up to a producer one night and telling them, because Fenella came up to me crying. I don't know what I do. Every time I write something, they criticize it. And I walked up to Dan Comey, and I said, "Listen, if you dare mess with her again, you're going to have to mess with me." He said, "What'd I do?" I said, "Listen, every time she writes something, you criticize it. Every time she does something, you're picking on her. What are you doing? Are you trying to get rid of her? It wouldn't happen. Over my dead body." So I wasn't just there for myself. I was trying to protect the generation coming up. Now back to my trailblazer, Phil Fraser. Quote, "I've had a wonderful, charmed life," according to Phil. "I came out of high school, I went into radio, I've done just about everything that would be done in broadcasting, radio, and television, in front of the camera, the back of the camera, in front of the microphone, behind, managing a national television network, writing, producing movies. All these I've been able to do. I've been very lucky. But you never forget there are a lot of people who are not as lucky as you are. That's what caught my attention in that interview, about an hour interview that I was talking to. I said, this brother's down. He knows what time it is. Because not many of us know what time it is. Once we get to the top, sometimes we think that we get this exaggerated feeling about ourselves. We think we're so important because we've broken through. The white folks are paying attention to us. So we think we're special. Like Malcolm X said, PhD or no D is still a nigger in the white man's face, in my white man's mind. When you come out of the 60s like I did, there's a lot of black militancy in your attitude. But you don't let it consume you. You put it in your work. Phil Fraser's interest in communication eventually led to broadcasting and television. But it started in high school when he realized that he had an interest in radio. And someone says, why radio? He says, because I want to be heard. I wanted to be heard. And he realized that if I go into radio, I'll be heard. I get on TV, I get on radio and I talk. This is in Montreal. This is in the 1950s, 40s and 50s. But his formal broadcasting career began with Foster Hewitt's radio station in Toronto in 1951. Think about it. 1951 here in Toronto. A young black man, well, black teenager from Montreal on radio. In 1958, Phil moved to Regina, worked in public relations, published the Regina Weekly Mirror, which chronicled the introduction of Medicare by the Tommy Douglas government. In 1969, he joined Alberta's Access TV network as a program director. 1970, I've been in Canada for 1 year. He was the co-anchor of CBC's Edmonton Supper Hours news show. Eventually, he got his own television show called The Phil Fraser Show on ITV. 1995 to 2000, he became the CEO of Vision TV in Toronto. The black man, high school education, and a desire to be the best he could be. Phil has now got a lot of honorary degrees and awards, including the Alberta Order of Excellence, because he lives in Edmonton. He's still alive. But Phil Fraser is the kind of guy that blazed trails for people like me. But even before Phil Fraser, a lot of you don't know that. How many of you heard about the show Sanford and Son? How many of you know that the producer of that show, Mark Warren, it's a black man from Kentucky, was trained here at CBC? How many of you know about Phyllis Marshall? Phyllis Marshall was born in Barrie, Black Canadian. Was one of the very first people of color on CBC, on the variety shows. How many of you heard about Joey Hollingsworth? In the 50s, Joey, born in London, Ontario, was the first person of color on television, on the variety shows, some of the talk shows. Every person who got on TV or got into I forgot a man that I ran into that really it had a huge impact on my life. Malcolm Johnson Many of you never heard of him, but he was at the Toronto Star when I worked there as a student intern in the summer of 1972. He's originally from Nova Scotia. And I remember several conversations I had with him as a young man, as a young journalist. He was already a very accomplished journalist at that time, writing, gave me tips, do this, do that, watch out for this, be careful. You know how, brothers share information. See, we have a way of kind of sharing information that nothing is said, but you understand what's going on, you know what I'm saying? No one will come out and say, hey, he's a racist, be careful about it. No. They just talk to you and go, and you got to figure it out. Like we Africans say, "Abufrobe nyansafo, ubunibia wankanasam." Says, a wise young man, a wise young person, you speak to him in Proverbs, you don't talk to him. Give him a hint, and you catch on if he's smart. I got a lot of hints from a lot of people to get me where I was supposed to be. One of the things I'm quite proud of was the series on Black history that I did every year. I'm sure Dwight remembers. But that all started in Ryerson. When in my second year, first or second year, myself and two Jamaicans, Russell Keith, Owen Stone, were the only 3 Black people in our class. We went up to a history teacher and says, they were doing something about Kachi or something. I said, no. I says, were there any Black people? We know there are Black people in Canada. What's their story? And he says, I don't know. There was a history professor. He said, I can't tell you. I said, tell you what, let's make a deal. Russ, Owen, and I are going to dig out the story about Black people in Canada, and we're going to present it to the class. How's that? I said, sure. Sir, do you have any books we can read? He says, no, I can't help you. So we went to E of T, we went to the library, we talked to people, and we wrote this terrific paper on Blacks in Canada and got an A+. That stuck with me all the way to City TV. When every Black History Month, before it became a big deal now we got huge crowds talking about it. Black History Month, they talk about Martin Luther King and things happening in the South. I said, now wait a minute. There's a story right here. Violet Desmond refused to sit up in what they call the nigger heaven 5 or 6 years before there was Rosa Parks. How come we didn't know that? All across Canada, when I had a chance to travel from British Columbia to Nova Scotia during the story about Black in Canada, the Obama effect, I talked to people in Amber Valley on the prairies and found this wonderful Black community with all kinds of accomplished leaders and people. Everywhere you go, there are accomplished Black people, people of color. From Nova Scotia, Ontario, Barrie, name it, they're there. Not too many people know that the first police regiment, the Victoria Rifles, were all Black men. That was the very first police force in Canada. Not too many people know that the very first lieutenant governor in Canada, James Douglas, was a Black man in British Columbia. Father Scottish, mother's from Guyana. You see, this is our story. When you know that, nobody can put you down. When you know your story, when you know your history. But so we got to go find it. I recently got a chance to talk about my old friend, Link Alexander. You know Link. When Link walked into a room, you knew he was there. It's the way you carry yourself. It's the way you talk. We look at Obama and we admire his literate oration and his eloquence. And we want it for our children. I wish my son could be like that. I wish my daughter could be like that. Like Wanda said, it takes education. You can never emphasize the importance of education enough. You can't. It's so important. Like Linda Carter's father told me one time, says, Jojo, when he was a child, they told me, get into your head. Put it into your head. Once it's there, they can't take it out. You're not doing it for anybody, you're doing it for yourself. Think about it. Get it into your head. Once it's in there, they cannot take it out. No amount of racism can take it out. No amount of racism can diminish an Obama or Lincoln Alexander or Violet Desmond. You can't. Because when you're blazing a trail, like you don't think about it, but you stand tall. People look at you and they go like, you know like them. They mean you know like the other black people. What do they mean? Because the way you behave, the way you carry yourself. When Link was talking about his friend Jackie Washington, he gave an eulogy when Jackie Washington died in Hamilton. He says, Jackie Washington was a man who made people think differently about black people. Just by his behavior, the way he walked, the way he behaved, the way he did his job. He was a musician. Many of the people who blaze trails change public's perception of who we are as a people. They see our humanity. They see our intelligence. You go see the movie Hidden Figures. If you haven't seen it, you got to go see it. You want to talk about trailblazers? How about 3 black women who are mathematicians? Go into any school and they tell you black people don't like math, they don't like science. Nonsense. Give them a chance, and they'll surprise you. I feel confident of the new generation because you got Dwight, you got Tammie. Can't go wrong. And there's more to come. We're not at the end yet, but we're pretty well on our way there. Thank you for listening to me.
Thank you, Jojo Chinto. And stay standing if you were one of the people who watched Jojo your whole life and said, you know what? Right. Thank you so much for blazing a trail for us all, and especially thank you so much for letting me be able to see, growing up as a kid, someone who looked like me who was on TV and just doing it so well. Thank you so much. And our next speaker and performer tonight, I saw her last week at the Ontario Black History Society brunch. I've seen her a couple times there, and she is incredible. Nadine Williams. She's an award-winning poet and author, a native of St. Mary Parish in Jamaica, is a poet, author who credits, St. Mary, who credits her success to the humble beginnings of reading under a kerosene lamplight to her family as a child, coupled with being reared by some very witty grandparents, she says, who spoke in parables all the time. If you haven't heard one of her poems, they are amazing. Of course, please, big round of applause for Nadine Williams.
It's been a hard road to travel and a mighty long way to go. He is a blessed Savior. He's gonna meet me on the way, I know. Many a lonesome valleys, many dark waters flow. It's been a hard road to travel and a mighty long way to go. Tightly woven into Canada's fabric, 150 years strong. Yes, we've been here all along, certainly not of our own free will, but in search of freedom song. Not newcomers on the fringes as some would have us believe. Look closer to the center, if you please. You will see us living the Canadian dream, once a nightmare to our ancestral stream, crossing many rivers, valleys, and streams. We've come a mighty long way. Though it's been a hard road to travel, we will not unravel, but will revel in the beauty and multicultural fabric of our home and native land. 150 years strong. You best believe we've been here all along. Join with me. It's been a hard road to travel and a mighty long way to go. He is a blessed Savior. He's gonna meet me on the way, I know. Many a lonesome valleys, many dark waters flow. It's been a hard road to travel and a mighty long way to go. Thank you.
She never disappoints, does she? Thank you, Nadine. This next lady, actually there are two people here tonight whose books I have in my library at home, and this is another one. A scholar, novelist, historian, poet, and social and cultural commentator, Dr. Afua Cooper's expertise and contributions to the arts, history, and education were recognized when she was presented in 2015 with the Nova Scotia Human Rights Award. She holds a PhD in history from the University of Toronto. Her major field of study was African history, and she completed other fields in Canadian and Caribbean historical studies. Dr. Cooper's expertise includes African Canadian culture, Black women's history, gender, slavery, abolition, and freedom, Black literatures, and education. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Dr. Afua Cooper. Okay, so we're at the Oscars, right? And you know when the person actually, their name gets called and they won the award and everybody's looking around for them? We're having one of those moments. So I could have swore, Dwayne, did I not see Dr. Cooper over there just a short time ago? Don't be telling the woman's business to everybody. Dr. Cooper just went to get a drink of water. I can see her out the corner of my eye making her way to the podium right now. Even though she didn't get to hear her wonderful introduction, she knows it. And here she comes. Ladies and gentlemen, Dr. Cooper. Never fails, does it?
Thank you. Thank you, Dwight. Just when you thought you could get up, right? And you thought, oh, I can't get up. People are speaking. I can't get up. Then you get up and they call your name. So I want to thank everyone tonight for coming out. I want to thank Shannon and Mona, who have been with me on email for several weeks now. Wonderful,